All right, so looking backward, the situation, the battle with Apollyon, and Christian getting all decked up and everything. And then we see, as we get into this chapter 18, a little turn of events here, a little ray of sunshine, if you will, in what happens here. So, Miss Rhonda, you want to give me a summary?
Okay, well, you keep saying 18, don't you mean 19?
I don't know. Do I mean 19? Let me see. Yes, I mean 19. Sorry. Yep. Well, I got my notes on every chapter, so it's not it's just my notes.
Give you a short.
Yeah.
On chapter 19.
Sure.
Okay. After Christian has revived, he starts out on this journey again, and as he's walking, he can see his friend Faithful ahead of him.
Yes.
And he calls to his
God bless.
friend, but his friend doesn't stop. He turns and looks, but he continues on. So Christian gets a second wind, and he actually, considering he's got all that equipment on, he finds and catches up to him and gets ahead of him, so he can stop and talk to him, so they can catch up about what's been happening since the last last time they saw each other. So they take a moment as they're reflecting. Faithful's talking about what happened to him, Christian's talking about what happened to him, and then talks about the things that we're going to be seeing in the chapter about the temptation and the way they were labeled, how you've got to take this is when your faith takes over, when you can resist those temptations that's put in front of you, and to be able to recognize if they're going to put you in danger and cause you to fall.
Sure.
So they talked about what they escaped during those times, but I don't want to give away what happened to them, because some people weren't here, they don't know.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Don't worry about that. All right, so that's pretty good. So why? I mean, in the second line, when he says, "All right," when he's running away, and I don't know, as pilgrims might see before them, he's going up this little hill, which is good. You know, you could see back further a little bit. Christian went on looking forward. He saw Faithful. At that, Faithful looked behind him, to whom Christian cried again, "Hey, stay till I come to you." But Faithful answered, "No, I'm on my way. I am upon my life, and the avenger of blood is behind me." Who's the, what is that?
It's that character that's they call him Moses, who's evil. To me, it's like Satan or one of the demons trying to stop Faithful was dragged by actually beating him up.
And really, I think I'm going to even expand that a little bit broader and say it's anything like that that is going to go ahead and get in the way of you moving forward. Now, is there a time and a place to look back? Yeah, absolutely. That's what you got in your tool bag, isn't it? You earned all those tools. You had to go out and buy them. Some of them were pretty costly for you to get the experience to then put them in your tool bag so that you'd have them to be able to use going forward. So you think back on those experiences that were helpful. But, you know, in this case, he's concentrating on the negative, which makes sense just given where this has been. Nate?
And so the avenger of blood, this kind of idea is talked about in Exodus or Leviticus or something. But essentially you have hurt or killed somebody, and a relative of theirs is going to avenge them. So you have to run away to get to one of these cities of refuge.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good biblical lesson right there. Yeah.
Imagine that he's running away from whatever it is, but he's heading toward a city of refuge, which is the same city Christian's headed for.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't call it necessarily a city of refuge, but okay. But I get what you're saying. I get that. And Christian, so he turns it on, right? He hits the accelerator and says, I'm going to catch up to this guy. And he catches up and passes him, and what happens? He's prideful, so he falls. He stumbles. And then what? And then because he stumbles, he needs what?
Help.
He needs some help. Can you think of a time in your life where that has happened to you? You stumble. You're looking forward. Hey, I want to get up to here. It's all good. And then you stumble on the way. And you could just make the application in terms of our faith, how easy that is. That we want to get there, and we're going to work harder, and we're going to pass these other people, and and then you stumble and fall, and the whole thing goes to crap. And then you got to go ahead and have somebody come and help you. I was thinking about the Israelites. Basically, the whole book of Judges, right? They go ahead, God commands this, they start doing it, they rejoice, they get soft, they forget about God, then they start going the wrong way, chastening happens, bad things happen as a result, and then they go ahead, get back on fire, back begging God for help, and then the whole thing repeats itself over and over and over. That's the book of Judges. That's the Christian's life, right? We can say that's the book of Judges, but we kind of, and we're going to talk actually about this in Sunday school, or in Sunday message this morning, how we just forget about God. We just forget about him. And when things are going well, we just forget them. When things aren't going so well, don't worry, you won't forget about God. That doesn't happen. If you know God, you don't forget about God. But when things are going well, it's easy to be distracted with everything else and, keep moving on without thinking about that. So after they get going, are they glad for the company? They've been separated so long. No problems coming back together, right? I mean, it's Marty. I'm going to use Marty as an object lesson. Marty hasn't been around for a while. But I'm glad to see him. I'm glad he's right back. I think that's good. We're making the same trip. We're still on the same path. It's good to see him going in the same direction. All of those things are good. And so I don't know. I could see how, and you know this, every once in a while someone will call, and it's like, oh man, I haven't talked to you in years. And it's an encouragement. We're all encouraged. And then we keep moving forward. Faithful says what? Till I could stay no longer, for there was a great talk presently after you were gone out. What is Faithful talking about there in answer to Christian's question? So they start gabbering, right? They start jabbering, and Christian says, "So what's going on? How long did you stay there?" Right? After I left.
Yeah, because that's where he leaves because he hears of their city is going to be destructed by fire and brimstone.
Don't you think he heard that before? That's what prompted him to leave the first time, right? I mean, he heard that from Christian. And then he goes back, and now he's hearing it again. Well, you know what? We're not all perfect or spiritual giants, and sometimes we just need to be reminded. We just need to be told again, this is what happens. if you don't do that, you don't get moving on this way, this is what happens. Bunyan is pretty faithful to the actual Christian walk. I would think he's experienced the same thing in his life 400 years ago when he was writing these to his kids. Remember, this book was written. This was his way of training up his kids. Now, this is Father's Day. You have to know we're going to do a beat up on Father's Day message. And the purpose of, one of the things about fathers is to go ahead and train up. And this is what he's doing. This is how he's doing it. So it's kind of interesting. We're going over Pilgrim's Progress on Father's Day. And that's exactly what the book was for. I don't see my kids. I'm not going to see my kids. I'm in jail. They can come however often they could visit. My understanding is they could actually come every once in a while and bring a meal and sit down. And wasn't quite the same situation that we might think of with jail today. I'm sure some things were worse, but it looks like some things might have been better. And so he's doing his job. So he's doing his job as they're going through there. So, I'm just going through my notes here as I'm going through it. So faithful, well, actually, Christian says, what and did no more of them, but you come out to escape the danger. This is always the question. Just you? You talk to people, and you're the only one that got the message. Now, I'm a positive person. I'm an optimist. I mean, if I have dust in my glass, it's full. I don't even need the stuff in the glass. I mean, I'm happy to have anything in the glass. That's just my makeup. And I realize not everyone's doing that. And it's got me in trouble over the years and blah, blah, blah. But it's also, this is one of those times when it is somewhat discouraging. Right? When, everybody's heard the message, especially if you're in America. There's no excuse, right? There's churches everywhere. There's Bibles everywhere. There's people spreading the gospel. And now with with the airwaves and social media and all this other stuff, there's really, we are people without excuse. And just like, and God, of course, in Romans chapter 1 pretty much tells us you're without excuse. And you just look at how much he's putting an exclamation mark on the end of the whole thing. It's like, look, you are so much without excuse. It's just terrible. And in this, Bunyan, 400 years ago, feels the same way. He's like, well, what's going on? What's going on? Now, he's not using it as an excuse. It's for us, today, for us, just like it was for him, it's just the recognition of, okay, this is the description of where we find ourselves. It's going to do one of a couple things, right? The idea that we find ourselves in a situation, what is it going to compel us to do? Which choices do we have? How do we take that? So the given situation, we can respond any number of ways. How are we going to respond? Given the situation.
If we're faithful and true, then we want to stay in the Word, we want to stay in the fellowship. But if we're weak and we don't have the ability in our heart because we really haven't fully understood, then you're going to fall back and you're going to become lazy and compliant. And you're going to do nothing but follow the world.
Okay. Marty?
They're looking to be more joyful. They want us to be more outspoken with the word.
Who's they in your book? Who's they?
The disciples, God.
Okay. All right. So, yes, and I would agree, right? We're to go ahead no one, I'll be careful when I say this. No one wants to hang out with a sorry sack, right? If all you do is moan and mope like Eeyore, well, it's going to rain today.
And a pity party, but you
There's no salt. The sweet tea isn't sweet enough. There's a problem with everything. There's not enough of the bagels that I like. That's one way to handle it. But I think the idea that that's not what God expects from his stuff. We're talking about rejoicing. Rejoicing means you're supposed to have been in joy. The is you're doing, that should be your constant state of always remembering the joy. It's, that is our lives. But in this situation, when there's just the one, and it gets discouraging. And he says, I heard some of them deridingly speak of you and of your desperate journey, for so they called this your pilgrimage. So Faithful is telling Christian how these people are chewing him up back in his hometown. Right? That's what's happening. That's what's happening. But I did believe, and do still, that the end of our city will be with fire and brimstone from above, and therefore I have made my escape. Even though everybody was talking bad about you, that you were wrong and your pilgrimage was all wrong, Faithful recognized that no, these people were wrong, and staying in this environment, in this city, under this pretext is a bad thing, and he moved on. Sometimes, Jake, you're in a work situation and you just got to move on. You can't stand there and kibitz because it's just not right. And you got to move on. They're talking about somebody or something, and it's no earthly good. I mean, they're just going in the wrong direction. Co-worker situation, co-students. It might even be in your family sometimes that someone decides to go ahead and start thrashing somebody. Trying to be an encouragement, trying to bring them back and to the right way of thinking is a good thing. But at some point, it might require you to extricate yourself from the situation and move on. And Faithful does that. Christian, to his credit, says, well, hey, what about Pliable? What's going on with him? Right? He has a concern. So all that backstabbing and tail bearing and all of those things that the city of that they're talking about, boy, it doesn't evidence this guy doesn't get under a skid. He's more concerned. And what about Pliable? Well, it's like, that's hardly seems fitting for someone with these accusations that have been railed against him and this mocking. But as Christians, you will face that. I had a lot of friends before I got saved. I had a whole lot less friends after I got saved. So that's just the way it is. People that we would go on vacations with and spend holidays with and would have cookouts and barbecue, all those stuff regularly. All gone. It just went away. It's not, and I think if there's something that I dwell on and think about, that is, I do on that particular issue. I think I wonder what John and Nancy are up to. I wonder what the boys, Wes and Jerry, are doing. I watched them grow up from this to, serving in the military, and you just kind of lose track. Karen and John, what happened to the kids? And we would go camp, spend a lot of time. There's many others just like that. And nothing. You're right. Hey, personal witness. Hey, it's just not for them. Same opportunity that I had, that you had, that everyone had, and they just I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. It's too costly. And that's usually, they don't come out and say that. Right? People don't come out and say that. I never thought before I got saved that it's going to cost me. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe I did. I don't know. I've never thought of it that way. Something prevented me from getting saved. But I didn't hear the gospel message a lot, I got to tell you that. In the Catholic Church, you never hear it. In the Church of Anything Goes, where we were going to, you never heard the gospel. You heard speeches. That's what it was. The pastor, brought speeches. There was not a challenge to go ahead and know and love God and serve God. None of that never came out. That never came out. So I don't know that I ever heard someone say, well, have you accepted the Lord Jesus, till Pastor Fred said it that one day, and 2 or 3 days later I was saved. As you know, and maybe the whole situation, I had to have some dry kindling, and I had to have the right spark, and I had to have everything just right to get the fire going. But that's when it got going. You know what? We better quit there. Because we're going to get into the scorn and mockery here in Matthew 12. 43 and 45 is the next thing on my list. We'll pick it up right there. We're a Christian, and what said the neighbors to him? We'll start here.